9:45 a.m. in Savannah, Georgia found me trackside at the city's bustling Alabama Junction just in time for a set of light GEs coming out of CSX's nearby intermodal ramp. I was heading back to Florida for a couple weeks after graduating from college in North Carolina and figured I'd finally get around to rail fanning Georgia's port city. Savannah is probably the most saturated railroad city I've been to. I feel like every couple of blocks I was crossing a different set of rails. I'm sure the fact that it's home to the East Coast's busiest port has something to do with this, as I quickly found an international stack train wandering into Savannah's Garden City Container Terminal. It's not hard to find trains here with CSX, Norfolk Southern, 2 Genesee and Wyoming short lines, and 1 from Watco making up the scene. My focal point for the day was to be Alabama Junction, an impressive web of CSX and Georgia Central trackage. I've been wanting to make a pit stop in Savannah since starting school, mostly out of interest for Genesee and Wyoming's Georgia Central Railroad. The short line operates a slew of turn jobs in and out of Savannah, one of which I found about an hour later in the town of Meldrum. The train of Woodchips had just been brought out of the nearby International Paper Plant, with the crew performing a runaround in order to bring their newly loaded train back to Savannah. I was thrilled to see one of the GC's relatively new B32-8s leading, the exact reason I had pulled off 95 in the Peach State this morning. The rather stylish conductor had hopped off in order to open up the D-rail, allowing for some up-close action with this exquisite GE product. Number 537 was originally built in 1989 for the Norfolk Southern and came to the GC as part of a 13-unit order with arrivals throughout late 2020 and early 2021. The iconic profile of a standard cab Dash 8 dressed in the infamous G&W corporate scheme isn't something you see every day, and I was more than happy to be watching the little beast in action. After running around the loaded chip cars, the 4-axle is up front and ready to run its train 15 miles into the city. The Dash 8s are known for their power and classic GE chug, all of which I was about to experience firsthand as 537 easily rallied its 25 fully loaded chip hoppers from a standstill up to track speed. Holy Wow, that's a lot of chug, and a lot of chips. The closest thing I'd seen to a unit chip train was on the Blue Ridge Southern, so it was pretty neat to see one on the Georgia Central, especially after the unfortunate news out of Canton. GC is probably one of Genesee and Wyoming's most appealing railroads for enthusiasts, and if you know me, you know I couldn't resist chasing the Meldrum Turn back into Savannah. My efforts directed me to Alabama Junction, where a CSX Stack Train had beat the Meldrum Turn to the diamond. I shouldn't say this train beat the Georgia Central to Alabama Junction, more like it stomped over the chip train in order to access CSX's Savannah Yard. Import containers are among the highest priority commodity to ride the rails, at the very least much more so than wood chips. Moving from the state port into the Savannah Yard meant that this train owned the city, occupying the Savannah Port Terminal Railroad, CSX's main line and Savannah Yard lead, as well as a crossing of Norfolk Southern and the Georgia Central, not to mention countless road crossings. I have no doubt that this highly annoyed everybody waiting on the stack train, everybody except me. I've always enjoyed watching international stackers as they provide a kaleidoscope of colors representing numerous shipping lines. This one looks to consist primarily of imports off a 2M vessel, the alliance between Maersk and the Mediterranean Shipping Company. They are the world's two largest container ship lines, although there was room for some domestic traffic on today's train, checking in at over 100 wells. It took over 45 minutes for the entire ordeal to unfold, at which point I went to check up on the Meldrum Turn, which had been waiting patiently. Not so fast, however, as I heard another horn coming from CSX only 1 block to the north. I'm not much of an air horn nerd, but I know a Leslie when I hear it, and as the train came into view, I couldn't believe my luck. This day just kept getting better and better. CSX's Spirit of Our First Responders locomotive was a sight to behold as it cranked a heavy manifest northwards on the A line. Coming in at 152 cars, this train had been waiting on the intermodal from earlier to clear the way, and was now back on its way towards what I'm assuming is Hamlet. The 3194 up front was a complete and utter bonus. I had apparently chosen the right day to swing through Savannah. I hadn't forgotten about the Meldrum Turn though, which was quick to take its turn through Alabama Junction after the manifest had cleared. That's the A line right there. I was pretty happy that all of this action was easily accessible, making for 3 good trains within about 12 minutes of each other. Another neat find was the diamond that CSX and GC share, which appears to raise the short line just above the Class 1, negating the need for CSX's tracks to be interrupted. Georgia Central's yard is just down the line from here, so this would be my last time watching the Meldrum Turn, unless you count my failed attempt to chase it a couple of blocks east. Now, ever since starting work at the Port of Wilmington, my fascination with ports has grown tenfold. The amount of calculated industry passing through these facilities is the coolest thing, and Georgia Ports Authority's Garden City Terminal is the mecca of it all. I had to check it out for myself, starting off with the newly completed Mason Mega Rail Terminal with 2 9-track yards and 10 gantry cranes. Mason's size doesn't hold a candle to the container yards and berths, however, with dozens of ship-to-shore cranes, hundreds of semis, and countless containers setting the stage. While most people can forego driving by the Port of Savannah, being in town and not cruising down River Street isn't quite as forgivable. Visiting Savannah is always a lot of fun, and I'm glad I made this pit stop. Still riding my high from the luck Savannah brought me, I figured a swing through Jacksonville was in store. My intuition had brought me to NS first, although nothing more than a lawed-out manifest was to be found. CSX took the reins once again as I hustled to a location known as Red Dog for an E040, empty coal hoppers coming north out of Orlando. Red Dog is nothing more than a dirt crossing in rural North Florida, but always a nice place to find a train. When I'd visit Jacksonville with my parents, this was one of our go-to spots, and I thought it as good a place as any to call it a day and continue on towards home. Thanks for rail fanning with me today. I hope you enjoyed chasing trains through some port cities as much as I did.